What up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Alchemy Podcast. I am with someone I'm really excited to talk to, Ashton Buswell, VP of Sales of Legacy Power. Ashton, welcome to the show, brother.
Thanks, man. Excited to be here.
Yeah. So the first thing I wanted to bring up is anytime I'm in your presence, even if it's on a Zoom call, like, in person, I feel like this overwhelming optimism, love, joy, just radiating through your being. It's just like instant good mood. And you can feel that before you even really get to know you. And so,
thanks, dude. Wow.
Yeah. You live in like this beautiful state. And we talk about that a lot in our Alchemy program, like the importance of living in a beautiful state. And you're someone who actually fully embodies that. And every time I've experienced you.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious, kind of like this happy, doesn't mean you don't have problems, right? But like the way you approach problems, optimistic, enthusiastic, you're just a good human being. And I'm curious, is that something that was learned, or were you always this way, or how did you kind of pick up just this way of life from?
Man, hey, listeners, we're coming right at it with the banger right away.
They know how we do. We just go right into it. Listeners know how we do.
Oh man, I love it. So I appreciate that, dude. I'm super grateful for that. And my experience has been similar with you. Like this dude has got his life, and we're not perfect,
no way,
right?
Not even close.
But intentional about his life. Like I want to have all of it, and I want to be this kind of person. So that's been my experience with you.
Thank you.
So I don't know, dude. I don't know if it was nature or nurture. I do know that I've worked on it a lot. Mm. So I know that there's been a lot of nurture.
So define that, nature versus nurture. What does that mean?
Yeah, nature versus nurture. Nature, you come out of the womb, this is who you are, right? Like you have certain attributes. You're this kind of person. You're 5'7" and 3/4. That's nature. That's my nature. I'm a little guy. Nurture is what are you learning? What are you being taught? Right? All of those things. And some of it's external, some of it's internal. My parents saying, hey, this is how we are. This is who the Buswells are. This is what we do. This is, right, whatever. And that kind of becomes a part of who I am if I choose to accept it, right? And then also me pouring into me and trying to have those type of experiences. So I do know that I've worked on it a lot. My parents are positive people. Mm-hmm. And I come from a family of 8 kids and
8 kids. Where do you lie?
Yeah, I'm the 4th.
Yeah.
And there was, and it's my family dynamic is, I love it. I wish it upon everyone. 4 kids is like 8 kids in today's world. But I was there that at one point there was 5 kids and the oldest was 5, and there was 4 boys. So it was boy, girl, boy, boy, boy. So we're all super close in age, and we'd beat up on each other, and we didn't have a lot of money, but we had each other, and that was enough, and it was really great. But, and I would say that my siblings are all pretty positive people. And whether that was my mom and dad that just helped us instill that, or if we came out that way, I'm not 100% sure, but I work on it, man. Like it's, one thing that I try to teach my kids that I'll say right out the gate about it is I believe we have a choice in every situation. Mm. And I've got one daughter that sometimes will freak out and things aren't going her way, and she'll grab her backpack and throw it and whatever. And I'll say, you've got a choice. You've got a choice right now. I don't want to hear it, Dad. You've got a choice. You can choose to be happy about this. You can choose to use this as a growing experience. It's your choice right now. You don't have to act crazy. And sometimes
how does she respond to that?
Sometimes it works.
Yeah.
And most of the time she'll go off and she'll kind of have a little pout period time, or she'll kind of have a little feisty, whatever, get some emotions out, and then come back and she'll say, sorry, you're right. I shouldn't have freaked out or whatever. Right. And she's getting better. She's building up her muscle of realizing that this is a choice. Cause it is, man, every opportunity that's in our face is a choice to look at as this is helping me grow, or this royally sucks. if it's a challenge, right? If it's something positive, this is a wonderful experience,
Right.
and I'm grateful for it.
And it really reminds me of that quote is you can't control what happens to you, but you can always control how you respond.
Yeah.
And that's such a beautiful insight of like, hey, you have a choice. And it's so beautiful that you're saying that, because in the door-to-door space, like that's the most true statement ever, right? You're a trainer, you're the VP of sales at one of the top solar companies in the country. You work with guys all the time. I worked with a lot of guys at Vivint, and when I was training them. And one thing that was evidently clear for me, I was bouncing around the country, getting on airplanes, working with guys in all different markets.
Right.
And it was this whole concept, which is the foundation of Alchemy, of like reps don't have a sales problem. Like, especially in your organization, you guys, I guarantee, I already know, you guys deliver exceptional training from exceptional reps and all the tools.
Right.
Like guys know
Training's
the pitch.
not an excuse.
Yeah. It's not an excuse. It's available.
Yeah.
And it's world-class too. And they know the pitch, they know closing, they know how to overcome objections, they know the industry, they know the interest. I mean, they know all of that. And the thing blocking them is the story in their head of, I'm not good enough. This isn't for me. This neighborhood sucks. I can't figure it out. I'm not as good as this person. And people kind of take on those identities of like, this just isn't for me. When the reality is it's everything up here. It's the 100%. Way you respond.
Yeah. Yeah.
The way you respond. Right. And I'm assuming you probably, for those who don't know, tell us a little bit about your history as an athlete and as a wrestler.
As an athlete and a wrestler, so I started wrestling in 2nd grade.
And was it just like you found it and you're like, oh, this is my thing?
My brother wrestled, and I wanted to be like my brother, the one that's just older than me. Mm-hmm. And so he got 2 seasons on his own, and then I was able to wrestle. And I loved it like pretty quickly. It was one of the things that I absolutely love about wrestling. And I wasn't going to force my kids to do anything. I've got 4 beautiful daughters. I wasn't going to force them to do anything, but I was going to force my boys to wrestle. And God was like, you don't get to choose. So I got 4 girls, but
you have 4 girls,
4 girls,
4 girls.
So, but the principles that I learned, and in the process of it, I did enjoy the grind and the hustle and the sweat and the pain, and the sacrifice. But I also think it was because I was good at it. I think I got a medal the first tournament that I went to, and only had 1 season where I had 10 losses or more.
So you had 1 season where you had 10 losses?
The most I had my very last year. I served a mission for my church and came back, and I should have redshirted. Yeah. It wasn't.
Where'd you go to school?
They needed me. After my mission, I went to UNC Chapel Hill. So
and that's a big deal.
Big school.
That's a big wrestling school.
Yeah. They're not the biggest at wrestling, but a really big school.
Yeah.
And I thought it'd be cool. Michael Jordan and I went to the same school. We're best friends. I just got to meet him to tell him.
Yeah.
But I thought it'd be a cool traditional school, where you're going to this stuff. And anyway, that was my worst year. I don't actually remember how many losses I had. I know it was more than 10. Before that, though, the most I'd ever had was 8.
Yeah. While you were on your mission, were you pretty sold on wrestling, or was that a decision you had to make again, or were you like, you knew like, hey,
I was pretty confident I was going to go. I was pretty confident I was going to go to Boise State and be back closer to my family and closer to home.
What happened with that?
It just felt like I should go to North Carolina. I went on 3 recruiting trips when I came home. I went to Northwestern in Chicago, University of North Carolina, UNC in North Carolina, and then Boise State. And I planned that one to be my last one because I was just planning on signing and being like, let's go. But when I was in North Carolina, I was like, dude, this is really good education. This is really cool school to be at. Basketball tradition, soccer tradition, the wrestling program's cool as well. But and then I went to Boise State, and it just felt like they were gonna like, oh yeah, we got him. He's our guy, no matter what. And I don't know. I know things happen for a reason. I only wrestled 1 more year, so I actually won junior college nationals as a freshman at Rick's College. I broke my hand in the semifinal match, and I won nationals with a broken hand. That's a fun story. But
I want to hear about that, right? So like because I think there's when I hear I won nationals with a broken hand, my first thought is absolutely insane resilience, like mental. That's a mental feat.
It was totally mental.
That's not a physical feat.
100%.
Like I worked, that's not that's like a mental strength.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So what was that? So you break your hand.
Yeah. You want me to talk through that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I, in the semifinal match, I had a guy up on my shoulder and I look over and I saw the clock and there was only like 3 seconds left. And I slam him down and his hip went right on my hand. And I broke right through after I got the x-ray, straight through one of my bones in my hand. Did you know instantly it was broken? No. Yeah. I had all the adrenaline going. Yeah. I kept wrestling and didn't know I was wrestling. The second half of the semifinals with a broken hand. And then I came over and I won the match and I gave the coaches a high five and I just felt an electric zing. He was like, ah! And I was like, what was that? But I didn't really want to tell anybody. I told my mom and my dad. And somehow there was this doctor came to visit that was an alumni of Rick's College, kind of out of nowhere. I think it was sent from God. But my dad was like, hey, he's a doctor. Maybe you should talk to him and just have him look at your hand. So we went down into this like locker room. It was like Rocky style locker room, dripping from the water dripping from the showers, rickety old rugged wood benches. It was just like from a movie for sure. And I said to the guy, I said, listen, and this is some of the mental stuff where I trick myself on when I'm selling. I do these same kind of things with my brain. I said to him, I said, listen, I don't know what's wrong with my hand, but if you do anything, I just want you to tell me that you popped my knuckle, okay? He was like, okay. And I handed him my hand and he felt it and his eyes got huge. He was like, and then he was like, why don't you look away? So I look away and he goes, pow! And he set my bone. My bone must not have been set. And he popped. And I was like, ouch! What was that? And he was like, oh, it's just a knuckle. Because I told him to say, I just popped a knuckle, right? And he had set my bone right there in this old locker room style thing, right? So then I was like, okay, thanks for that. He's like, it should be a little bit better now. Yeah. And so I went and I took a nap and then I came back and warmed up. I didn't tape it up. I didn't want the other guy to know that there was a problem. Right. Right. So in warm-ups, I'm warming up with my teammate and he grabs my hand and it hurt like crazy. And I was like, hey, let's not do that anymore in warm-ups, okay? Yeah. He didn't even know that it was as bad as it was, right? And then I get in the game, dude, and I'm just in the game. I'm playing the game. I'm in the game. I'm in the match. Adrenaline's going. I don't really feel it much during the match. I'm just wrestling and going after it. And with 30 seconds left, I was pushing the dude hard. Got a stalling warning, another stalling warning, got 1 point. I beat him by a point at the very end. I don't know, 20 seconds left or whatever, 15 seconds left. And I won it with a broken hand. And I wasn't giving anybody high fives with this hand. I went back home, got an x-rayed, straight clean break, right? But the mental side of that was, I'm not gonna let that stop me. It hurts really bad. Nothing's poking out of the skin, but it's not something I can't do. I can do this.
What stands out to me in the story, Ashton, is just like the power of story. And what I mean by that is like, you didn't want to know your hand was broken, right?
Yeah. Right.
And I'm serious. Like, it's like, because if my hand's broken, I have a broken hand. What's the story now? Like, I'm not going to be able to perform as well. I have an excuse if I lose, right? Yeah, something's wrong with me. I never get, like, I'm a victim. Yep. And then you can spiral. And, I'm a big believer, when I coach a lot of the people, like, you have to be careful of the story you're telling yourself and just where your focus goes. And Tony Robbins says this all the time, where your focus goes, your energy flows. Right. And what I'm hearing is like, you stopped the energy flow about knowing what's going on.
Yeah. This could be bad.
I'm not even going to pay attention to it. I'm not going to give any energy to that story. Yep. At all. Yep. And if it's broken, we'll deal with it later. Right. I have no idea, but I just want to refocus truly on like a spiritual level, your consciousness into something else. Right. Because that's just the power of the story. And what I'm hearing is just like, you're a master at controlling the narrative from your kids to you have a choice to, the wrestling match to, I know you do this in your training with your sales guys. And it just seems to be like a constant theme of like the power of what I'm hearing, like the power of telling yourself the right story. Yeah. 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 In sales, man, I'm training guys on this all the time that I'm saying, this is it. This is it. This is it. This is the one. This is the one. And I make up crap as I'm like in the neighborhood,
Red truck. Oh, bro, I sell everybody with a red truck. Let's go. And I'm like hustling to the door
Yeah.
because that dude's got a red truck. I mean, how many people have I sold with a red truck? I don't know. But like I'm saying to myself right now that this is it because of the red truck. And now I'm approaching the door like, yeah, dude, this guy, he wants it. And I sell everybody with a red truck. Oh, he didn't want it. That's okay. He's just saying not now. All good. I'll go to the next person. Oh, they got pots like hanging from their like the plants. Oh, dude, I sell everybody with that. I gotta go. Let's go. This is it. This is it. This is it. This is it. And that kind of frame all of the time. Eventually, I find it right. Oh yeah, this was it. And then I can say, I told you, man. Those plants, dude. Don't hang some plants up if you don't want me to sell you. You know what I mean? Mary. Oh, dude, I sell every Mary. And so. That's a lot of my training, I mean, or a lot of my mentality when I'm in the field, right? If I'm saying that, if I'm putting that out there, if I'm attracting that, and if that's where my energy's going, instead of and I dude, when I'm in the field, I walk really fast. Sometimes I run from house to house. When I started out selling, I legit ran for the first probably 3 summers. I ran door to door, and Luke Toon, that's one of our co-founders, him and Casey Baugh and I all started the same summer. I don't know if you knew that at Atlas. And Casey and I was top first year rep all summer long. And then in August, Casey and Luke passed me. So I was number 3, Luke was number 1, and Casey was number 2. And Luke called me in the middle of the summer and he tells the story. He's like, dude, what are you doing, bro? Like, what are you doing? And I was like, I don't really know, man, but I run to every door. He's like, for real? And I was like, yeah, in Kansas City, it's like 95 degrees with 95% humidity. I'm running. And he was like, okay. And so he started running to like every house, right? Like, I guess I gotta get to more houses, And so that urgency, if somebody tells me no, I can look at that as not yet. They're just telling me not yet. If they're rude to me, I could look at that as that royally sucks. That guy's rude. That guy's not nice. Or he's just having a bad day. He's a really good person. He's having a bad day. Those are both all choices, right? That I get to make. But I move quick between houses because my energy stays up and I have urgency to talk to the next person. If somebody tells you no and you're like, oh man, this sucks. My life sucks. The last 20 doors have slammed there, and you're telling that story that you're talking about. If you ever repeat on that story, dude, your life's going to suck, dude. Why don't you change that to like, this is it. This is it. This is it. That wasn't it. That's okay. It's just not yet. This is it. This is it. And have your energy go there. Dude, you have a happy life. How many sales you get today? I got nothing, but bro, tomorrow, you watch out, bro. I just paid all my dues today.
Man, I love that. It's, 2 things are coming up for me. It's just that concept that motion creates emotion.
Yep.
Coupled with sales as a transfer of energy. All it is. All sales is a transfer of energy. And my speaking gigs, I always tell people all the time, like, when's the best time to sell an account?
Right after you got one.
Why?
Because people buy from you.
Yeah, you're pumped up. You're fired up, right? And so I love this running door to door thing. Motion creates emotion. And I remember, I'll never forget, I was knocking with a guy early on in my Vivint career, and I move really fast when I'm out.
Love it.
I'm almost jogging.
Yeah, speed walk, jog.
Almost jogging. Yeah. And one of my guys was just like way behind me. I'm like, bro, you have got to keep up. He's like, dude, I'm tired. I'm like, it's not how this works. Like, you've got to, movement is life.
Yeah.
Movement is life, period.
Yeah.
And, you sharing that, it's just like, it's such a true principle in the sales industry because this job is so hard. It's like, it's the hardest job people can pick.
Yeah.
And it's funny to me when people are like reaching out, they're like, man, it's 100 degrees this summer and it's so hot. And there's 3 other solar guys in my area. And I'm like, bro, you realize you consciously decided to do this. Someone came to you and said, hey, do you want to go knock doors in St. Louis, Missouri?
You made this choice.
Yeah. You decided to do this. Like, you made the choice. And it's been 100 degrees in the summer in St. Louis, Missouri for the last 250 years. Like, it's supposed to be hot. Like, we knew this was coming.
That was part of the plan. Yeah.
It's not new information.
Right.
And so the way you navigate through the doors, and a phrase that I would use when, those days when you're just like getting pounded, you just can't find, and you like have to like will yourself, is I would repeat in my head, I love myself. I love my job. I'm the best rep at Vivint. I love myself. I love my job. I'm the best rep at Vivint. I love myself. I love my job. I'm the best rep at Vivint. And just like willing that energy.
That's great.
In through the next doors. And it's just like, it's not, you know, the biggest mistake I see, and I want your opinion on this too, the mistakes guys are making, you see, but I think the biggest mistake guys get into in the summer is when you first get out. Think about when you see guys when they first get started.
Good energy.
They're good energy. They're excited. They're reading the books.
Yep.
They're participating in the meeting, right? They're watching the sales training videos. And then the reality of the job settles in. And it's like, man, I have to go knock doors for 12 hours and 99% of my day is no. And it's 100 degrees and the 3 jobs I got all canceled, right? And it changes their state, right? They get a little down. They start sleeping in. They're like frustrated. They're like at war with themselves. And then when you fall into a negative state, and this is the biggest mistake I see people make, is they try and out-strategize the state, right? They try and out-strategize it. What does that mean? That means sales aren't going in. I'm having cancels. Finances are tight. What strategy can I implement to get out of this? So maybe I need to change companies. Maybe I need to change to a closer or to a setter. Maybe I need to change hood.
Maybe I put flyers out. Or put a sign out somewhere.
Go work with the realtor. Right? That's my favorite. I'm gonna go. I just met a home builder and we're gonna do a
big thing together. Yeah.
By the way, in 15 years, I've never seen that work. I've never seen anyone like actually execute on like a home builder, you know, partnership. But every year it comes up every year.
Yeah,
dude, I met a home builder. They're going to get on every, you know.
He said,
it's my favorite. So if you're listening to this in the summer and you got a rep in your office who made a deal with a home builder, don't get your hopes up. But yeah, that's the problem is the guys try and out-strategize their state. And the only way to change is you got to change your state first.
Yeah.
Right. I got to get in a positive energy. I got to be enthusiastic. I have to be upbeat. Even when things aren't going my way, I got to stay positive. I got to stay optimistic. And then what happens is once you get into the peak state, the results come after. Right.
Super hard to do though.
Super hard to do.
Super
That's
hard
like,
to do.
and honestly, I think, you know, I train on this when I travel. I tell reps, I'm like, your number one opportunity, like your number one to-do list, the top priority in your sales season when you wake up isn't sales training, isn't going to the gym, it's not reading, it's getting into peak state. That is your number one priority objective every single morning.
Day,
because if you can get into a peak state, especially when things aren't going your way, and maintain it, the rest comes naturally. It just unfolds.
Yeah, totally.
And so that's what I see, you know, when I did my training. So I'm curious on your end, right? Because I never trained solar. I don't know solar. I sold one solar deal to my cousin, right? Cause he just wanted it and I just like teamed it up. So I don't know it. And I'm not as in the trenches as I once was. And I'm curious from your perspective, because like you do a lot of training, right? A lot of guys look up to you. I'm sure you knock a lot of reps. I'm curious, what are the top mistakes you see, especially in the solar industry, solar reps making today?
Yeah. I mean, you nailed it with the state. Like that's, if people could get that right, again, that's a choice. You get to choose if you want to be in that state or not. If they could get that right and get away from the home builders, then they would be in good shape.
The flyers.
Yeah. Where I think sales in general, I mean, I see it in solar. There's this Brian Tracy quote. I could pull it up, but I'll just kind of paraphrase it. He talks about how salespeople are in sales just long enough to get the tar kicked out of them, their confidence beat to the ground, and then they leave. And part of my mission, like I'm starting a new foundational selling system course, and I'm making it super cheap so that everybody can have it. And some of the goals behind it is just that people that are at that point, and then they're like, this sucks, and they're just beaten down, is to get them past that hump. Where the mistake that happens is that they are right there, they're almost there, and they give up too soon.
Yeah,
dude, it's only going to get better from here.
Yeah, you've done all the hard work.
You've done all the hard work.
You've done all
already.
the hard work. Right?
If you can live like you're living right now, it's not going to get worse. It's going to get better. And there is plateaus, right? There's sales. There's ebbs and flows in sales.
The solar coaster,
or any coaster, right? In sales, sometimes you're going to be on a heater and you're going to sell everybody, and then other times you're going to be like 0 for 10. Like, what happened? I'm not saying anything different. That's just part of the game. But I think that in sales, people stop too soon. And then they go to what you're saying is, and then they try to change the narrative,
Change strategy,
and change strategy, and come up with something new. And you don't need to. And maybe there is certain times if technology is changing and different things. Sure, maybe there's some times where you need to make some changes. But if you're at Vivint, the playbook has been there for a long time,
yeah.
and it freaking works.
Yep.
You don't need to change a thing about the playbook. It's figured out. You figured it out, and you helped a lot of people figure it out. And a lot of people that helped figure it out, right, and put it together. Now there's this machine and this playbook, execute. And if it doesn't work for a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 2 months, it still works. I promise. Look at all these people that have made millions of dollars with this playbook. And you can go try to create a new playbook, and sometimes it'll work. But dude, for the most part, just go back to that playbook. Right?
Foundations are so strong.
Yeah.
And instilled in every company.
Go there. So I think that what I see in solar and in just sales in general is that people give up too soon. And I also understand it, especially if you're 100% commission. You're 100% commission. You're living off savings. You maybe have to borrow some money from mom and dad for a minute. That's uncomfortable. How bad do you want it? Are you willing to be a little uncomfortable and ask mom and dad for like some money for the next little while? Because I believe it can happen. I've got the playbook. I've got the team. You know what I mean? That's one of the unfortunate things that I see.
Yeah, I would love to hear, because one thing that I really admire you about, Ashton, is you live a life of integrity, and we happen to be in an industry where it's really easy to not sell with integrity, right? When you're out there on your own with high commissions on the table, with big dollar signs and opportunity, and being able to kind of fudge things here or there or leave parts out, right? And I'm curious, what does selling integrity look like for you, and how important is that in your sales training, and then how you deliver, when you're messaging, when you're working with guys?
So important, man. Thanks for asking that question. So when I sold satellites for 3 years, and then I sold alarms for 3 years, and I started getting the nickname Bishop Buswell, Bishop Buzz. And some of that was because I would start some of my meetings with prayers, like some of the most successful companies. I don't care what religion you are.
Yeah.
Some of the most successful companies I've ever seen involve God in it. Our nation was built on "In God We Trust," right?
Right.
And so I would start some meetings with prayers, and some people thought that was weird. But where I loved it was, and I was grateful for it, and still am to this day. A lot of people still call me Bishop Buzz.
It's a great nickname.
It's a good nickname.
It's a great nickname.
And then I actually became a bishop. So
Are you a bishop?
I was like, dang it, dude, I should have picked like Superman Buzz or something, But I ended up actually becoming a bishop later on. But they would be arguing at the start of a meeting. Was this right? Did you do that? Should we do this? Not do this? And then they'd say, well, Ashton, he'll tell us the truth. What do you think, Bishop? Is this a good thing to do, not do, or whatever? And I totally took it as a badge of honor.
Yeah.
They knew that what I was going to tell them was an honest thing.
Yeah.
And selling and doing it the right way, right? It gives me the heebie-jeebies, man, when I hear of people that have burner phones and don't give their customers their phone numbers. Like, I'm just like, oh, that's so gross.
Yeah.
You should
I didn't know that was a thing.
You should never be selling in such a way that you don't want to give your customer your phone number. That means you're selling not the right way.
Yeah.
And there's something to be said, like, I don't want customers calling me. They should be calling customer service if they have problems and whatever. I mean, I guess I understand that some, but when I've heard people doing that and not giving their number out ever, or having a phone that was just for the summertime and then getting rid of that phone and the customers were kind of left high and dry, that makes me sick, man. That makes me sick. I live and I sleep great at night because I'm honest with people. And I'll even sometimes lately, this is a little bold, but lately I'll even, and in some of my, if somebody's kind of giving me a scuffle or they're giving me some different things, I'll say, hey, listen, I just did this last week with a guy that it's a winter time. There's not as much sun. The way that his utility bills, and he's got an electric heater, he's paying a bunch to the utility companies. Like, I thought I was going to be saving this much. He will. It's just going to be over the year like it was set up. And he didn't understand that. And I said to him, I said, you know me because we've spent some time together. And I'm not going to ask you this question, but I want to tell you that sometimes I ask the question, who's the most honest person that you know? And people will say their dad or their cousin or their friend Jeff or whatever. And it's kind of a trick question because the most honest person that you know should be yourself. Mm. And that's hard because you live with yourself. You know if you're, exaggerating a little bit when you're talking to somebody or fluffing the truth or I was late to this. I could have come up with a lot of excuses. And what I told you was all real. It was also an excuse, right? I didn't know my driver's license was expired. I couldn't get a car, whatever. I could have made some stuff up. But where does that get me, man? That doesn't get me where I want to go. Because every decision I make, every conversation I have, every word that I say is building or breaking me down. I'd rather have it build me up. And so when I'm in homes with customers, anyway, with that, I'll finish up that story with that guy. I just said, hey, I'm the most honest person that I know. And you may not know that about me, but I'm a really honest person. And let me continue to tell you what's going on. And I don't know that helped him feel warm and fuzzy. Like, oh, wow, I'm talking to the most honest person that Ashton knows, But I try to live my life in that way. And again, it's really hard because I'm in my head all of the time. And I have opportunities all of the time. Every single day we have opportunities to fluff up the truth or say white lies or just be honest all the time, right? And it's such a better life to be honest all the time.
Man, I'll share a story, man. It hits home with me. And my dad raised me to always live in integrity. And if I could, he passed away in 2011 to colon cancer.
Oh man.
And if I could use one word to describe the type of man he was, it was integrity. And I'll never forget, when I was learning the sales skills, I always believed that like if you have to be dishonest, it's because you are not a skilled salesman, right? Like if you are truly a skilled salesman, you will work in full integrity,
right?
The way the job offers, if you can just
unless your product's crap,
right?
Then go find something else to sell.
Yeah, I was selling Vivint, so I felt really comfortable with Vivint.
Yeah.
At the time, and probably still is, Vivint was the best, in my opinion, the best alarm on the market by far. Know, and so I felt like I could sell with really, really high integrity. And I always believe that if you weren't selling with integrity, it's because you're not as skilled as a salesman, right? You're not able to provide value in a way that makes sense for the customer,
totally.
for the transaction. But I remember I caught myself, I got into trouble because I'll never forget. It was the end of 2012. We were in Houston, Texas, and we were knocking in the Woodlands, and it was like the last week of the summer. And I'm 21 years old. And it's literally my last day knocking. It's like the next day, packing up the car, and we're out of here. And 70% of the office has already gone home.
Right.
Everyone's already back to college.
Everybody wants to go. Yeah.
It's just that point of the summer when you're just it's just morbid to get out of bed.
Yeah.
And it's one of the last doors I'm knocking for the summer. Like I'm already thinking about I'm leaving tonight. I'm not leaving tomorrow. I'm leaving tonight. I'm so done. And I knocked on a home and they had like a $400 buyout with their ADT. And I was just like, I'll cover it. I'll pay your buyout. I'll pay the whole thing. We'll just get this thing in. And so, I really don't remember what happened. I don't remember it being intentionally, but I just left and never made it to the bank. I never got back to them. And, went home. And then I remember in 2012, maybe a couple months later, I got my first customer complaint. Because they show you all your complaints. And I was kind of had a badge of honor that I never had any. And I got a customer complaint. And it was like, this rep told us he was going to buy out our contract and he didn't, and I remember just having like this pit in my stomach. And I kind of brushed it aside. And a couple years later, 2017, so 5 years later, I was going through my big spiritual awakening. I was kind of like trying to make amends with everyone I had. And then I just remembered this thing. I'm like, I didn't pay that customer back. And so I was a company sales trainer at the time, and I had a sales training in Houston. And I dug up all my old emails, and I found the customer complaint because I had their address, like name and address on it. And I found the address, and I went to the bank, and I got $400. And I drove to the house, and when I drove up to him, like, man, like all these memories flashed. Like, I'm like, I totally screwed these guys. Like I just remember being back out there, and it was late at night. The sun was going down because I was knocking for a full day. And I went up and knocked on the door, and the lady answers, and I'm like, hey, I don't know if you remember me, but I sold you your Vivint system, and I told you I was going to buy your system, and I never did it. And I have $400 for you. And she like freaked out. She like, this is off. Something's weird. Like, oh my gosh, like my husband's not home. And she got really spooked and like closed the door on me.
Interesting.
And I'm like, what a weird. So I pulled out a pen and paper and I wrote a note, and I'm like, hey, my name's Doug Cartwright. Here's my cell phone number. 2012, I sold you a system. I told you I was going to buy it out. I didn't. I wanted to apologize for that. I'm a man of my word. Here's your $400. If you have any questions, call me. Left the note under the doorstep and I walked away. And then the next morning I woke up and had a voicemail from a blocked number. And it was the guy. And he was just blown away. He was like, in all of my years of business, I've never seen anything like this. Like, thank you so much. 5 years later. Thank you so much. Like, I'm uplifted, I'm inspired, and like, God bless you. And the world needs more people like you.
That's awesome.
And I remember like, I was so lit up.
Yeah.
I was just like, it was almost like this weight came off my shoulders. And I was just like, I felt so good.
Yeah, totally.
To live in integrity. And like my one, kind of my one customer complaint kind of like got that cleaned up.
Yeah.
And when I'm doing my trainings, I'm just like, it is never worth it not to sell in full integrity. And I know you believe this, I'm a big believer in karma. The universe, I use the word universe, you use the word God. The universe is always paying attention.
Yeah, yeah.
And what you give, you get. And it might not be, if you're selling out of integrity, it might not be immediate. But in my experience, watching people who sell out of integrity, it always catches up to them.
Yeah, dude, I totally agree. That's an awesome story. Good on you.
Yeah.
For going back and righting that wrong. Because not enough people do that. They brush it under the rug. It happens if you're a sales leader. Sometimes you'll give a guy a bonus, or people will borrow money. Hey, dude, I need to borrow some money. I've lent out a lot of money to a lot of people that I now see are really successful. And some of me, I guess you're the one asking me the questions, but let me ask you a question back. I've been tempted to go back to these people to raise the level of integrity in the world. Going back to them and saying, hey man, how's things? Catch up for a minute. And then just say, do you remember that I paid for this plane ticket for you and you needed the money, you were going to pay me back? I mean, it was $300, $500, whatever it was, not whatever. And 5 years ago, were you ever planning on doing that? I've wanted to do that with a lot of people.
Yeah. So
do you think that's a good idea? Bad idea?
I don't think it's a good idea.
Do you think that's calling people out? Yeah.
Here's my belief on that. I had a really good friend, reach out to me not too long ago for a substantial loan. And it was like, it was a little painful for me to give it to him. It wasn't like, hey, I need $500. It was like, I need multiple thousands. And, I was in a position to do it at the time. And, I remember I sent it off to him and he's like, I'll pay you back in installments. And they didn't come. It's been months, a couple months. And then I got a little bit here and a little bit there. And there's still a pretty substantial outstanding balance on it. And, I remember feeling angry and feeling upset and wanting to call him out on it. And then I just had this moment of surrender of just like, this is the reality of life.
What is. Yeah.
This is what it is. And, I'm really grateful to be the position I'm in, and he probably really needs this. And I look back in my life, and when I was, in a financial tight spot, I had people step up, and I remember asking for a loan and people being like, hey, don't worry about it, And I'm like, I'm just going to surrender this to the universe, let go of the karma, let go of everything, and like whatever it may be will be. And I trust in the universe's karma is the way it unfolds. And I'm actually not going to hold on to that karma. I'm not going to wish any ill will for this person that's going to come back to bite him. I'm just going to fully forgive and surrender
and move on.
And the lesson in it for me was, this is the deeper context here, but the lesson for me was really learning the power of forgiveness.
Yeah.
Like I really had to do like this inner meditation of like, hey, you didn't pay me back. You've been a close friend for a long time. You told me you were. I forgive you. forgive you.
Yeah.
And I did that internally, and just all the weight is lifted. And I actually haven't even thought about it in 2 years until you brought that up, because I just wanted to let it go. I didn't want to carry that. You know, it reminds me of a quote that it's a little different, but can resonate, that unsaid expectations creates long-term resentment.
Mm.
And
That's
the
good.
feeling that I had of feeling like and I'm watching him post on Instagram traveling, right? Like the feeling I had when I watched that was resentment and anger. And I'm like, I don't want that to carry that anymore. I'm the one carrying it. He's not carrying it.
Yeah.
I'm carrying it. This is my inner experience that's being affected because I'm holding on to something.
Yeah.
I'm holding on. I'm going to let it go. I forgive you. And now I feel really clean and clear inside.
Dude, that's so good. That's so good. And it's interesting you bring up forgiveness. And I think, so God, universe, whatever, I feel like I'm going through a little walk on the forgiveness journey of I think that's one of the biggest and most next important things for me personally and it's interesting how it relates to integrity, because we're having a conversation and we're friends, but if I've got something that I'm holding on to from something that you did to me, but we're looking and we're talking as if it's like nothing's going on, is that really in integrity? You know, before we started this, you were talking about your friend that has a relationship, like in relationships, there should be some conflict sometimes, right? Most of the time, she says. But I thought, man, is this all the way in integrity for me that I'm holding on to something? And these ones that I referenced earlier, I've also had that same experience of like, this money's never coming back. It's okay. It's all good. I'm so grateful I was in a position where I could help, and that they got what they needed when they needed it. And if they ever pay me back, awesome. And if they don't, all good. But I have got one guy that I loaned money to a long time ago, and good intentions. I'll pay you soon. He'll pay me something, pay me again. And then nothing for a long time. And I'm like, dude, I respect you more than all these other people that I've dealt with that haven't paid me back, even though it's over time. So anyway, it maybe sounds like I haven't let go of these people that I've loaned money to, but I have. I know that I've given it up. But the reason I brought that up is because I'm like, man, how can we help raise the standard of integrity? They may not recognize that as out of integrity.
Yeah.
They may not see that like, oh shoot, yeah, I guess I did take advantage of you a little bit, huh? Yeah. Maybe I should do something about that, you know? But I think you're probably right. If you're calling people out on their crap, they don't like it, and they may be like, screw you, man, whatever. You know, I don't know. But.
Yeah, and I think it, requires to like a deeper trust in God or the universe, of just like life is what's unfolding. Like I accept the reality of life. And I believe that there's a bigger picture, in some of your previous stories, the doctor that just happened to be there, and like God puts people in your path, mysterious ways, and everything's kind of interconnected. I'm a big believer in that.
Yeah.
And I also believe that I'll never be able to comprehend or understand the intelligence behind synchronicity and coincidence and connection. And so the way I like to live my life is to fully show up in each moment and be able to serve it in hopes that I'm in a higher alignment with what is actually unfolding.
Yeah, yeah.
And sometimes, in reality, majority of the time, life does not go the way that I think that it should. Right? I have a preference of how it should be. Right. And it just doesn't unfold that way.
Yeah, yeah.
Unfortunately.
Working towards this thing, oh, dang it didn't work out like that. It didn't work.
And so I think, there's this level of surrender. Surrender is an interesting word, especially in our industry, because a lot of type A, go-getters, make it happen, figure it out.
A plus B equals C every time.
Push it through, right? Make it happen. And it's a beautiful phase. And I think there's actually a higher phase of life to live, and it's through surrender, which means, that doesn't mean don't do anything to me. It doesn't mean don't participate. It doesn't mean don't try your best. It means to be okay with the reality of life. Right?
Yeah.
If interest rates get crazy this year, right? What's an average solar interest rate right now?
There's some of them are coming lower, but 5.99.
So let's say it goes to
something
8
like that. Yeah.
this summer, right? That would make some big changes,
Right.
right? Guys it would squeeze the industry.
Yep.
Way majority people respond to that is fighting it and changing it. It shouldn't be this way. And this sucks. And maybe I need a new job and, whatever it may be. And surrender is I accept reality exactly the way it is. I can handle that. Now that I can handle it, how do I now engage in an appropriate manner and within what's right in front of me? And I think that's living in integrity with life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And so it's kind of ties in with knocking with integrity, doing the hard thing. Right. And on that piece too, because I do want to talk about this, and I'm writing about this in my next book, but I believe that true surrender actually means going all in. Like, here's the reality of life, whether I prefer it or not. I'm going to do my very absolute best to figure it out. So as a solar rep, surrendering to solar, that means waking up early, getting your workout in, getting your study in, being the first to meeting, helping reps, knocking all the hours, mastering your craft. And I'm curious from your perspective, how many people would you say in an office are truly like fully surrendered and like all in on the opportunity? Is that rare or is that more common?
I would say that's pretty common.
Yeah.
Well, it's I would say though that are all in,
Like
full, all about it.
all in.
You're probably like 25-30% of the office is that.
Yeah.
Then you got a big middle chunk of people that are like, they're about it,
Yeah.
but they're not
About it.
all in.
Yeah.
And then you've got maybe 10% that are like, I don't know if this is going to work for me or not.
Yeah.
Maybe more than that 20%. I don't know. Dude, that's interesting. I totally agree with that. And I was sitting here and I was thinking, dude, how you're explaining surrender is a lot how I live my life, but I don't call it surrender. I think I call it all in.
Mm-hmm.
Like I believe in having it all. So when I'm at the gym, I'm all in at the gym. I'm right here, right now.
Present.
I'm present. When it's time to be on the gym, I'm on. And I'm not texting, I'm not emailing, and that can get tough, right? You see people sitting on stuff and looking at, I'm not on Instagram, I'm in the gym. When I go to church, I either leave my phone in the car or it's on do not disturb. I'm all in. When I'm with my wife on a date, I'm all in. When I'm with my girls on a date, all in. When it's time to be there, and is that surrender? I think that is. I've never really thought of it that way, but I agree with that. That true surrender is like maximizing what you have right here in front of you right now to its fullest.
Regardless of your preference.
Regardless of your preference.
Yeah.
Regardless of the outcome.
Yeah.
What's going to happen is going to happen. And I guess I do surrender certain things. Let me tell you one. I just got here on an airplane, right? I think airplane seatbelts are kind of funny.
Yeah.
If the plane's going down from 30,000 feet,
Yeah.
and I tighten up my seatbelt, I'm just going to die in my seatbelt instead of dying somewhere else in the plane.
Yeah.
Right? Like people freak out, and there's like, and it's rational. It's not, if you're a person on planes that kind of freak out, my empathy for you, right? It's not irrational to think that way, but I've just kind of surrendered that I actually can't do squat about this.
Yeah.
Me worrying about the turbulence and worrying about where he's going to go next and what's going to happen next. I'm not steering this ship. I got no control. I keep my belt super loose. Like if we're going down, man, we're going down, and that's it, right? And I'm going to share about this tomorrow. The fires in California. There was a fire right by my house. I could see it from my front window. I could smell the smoke. It was right there. And some of my buddies were like, dude, we'll come over and fight the fires. We'll come over and help out. And I was like, dude, I appreciate that. Thank you. But I was like, dude, the fire's going to do what the fire's going to do.
Yeah.
And luckily we got firefighters and we've got all these people that are doing their best to stop it. But me, Ashton, I'm not going to really be able to do much. My hoses outside my house aren't going to be able to do much for this big fire. And so like, I'm going to go ahead and choose to live my life knowing that that's that. And I'm going to continue to move on, but beautiful. I'm going to be all in on the moment, what I got right here, right now. And and keep moving my feet forward, you know?
Yeah, I love that. It's just this mentality of just like control what's controllable, which I believe a lot less is in our control than we give ourselves credit for. I really believe you can only really control your inner state and surrender the external, right? No matter how frustrated or organized you would have been with that fire was going to do what the fire was going to do.
Right.
And so surrendering to that. And I think that's a part of growth, especially in this industry, is I see a lot of guys who don't surrender to the reality of their job. Meaning, how many times you're like, I just can't wait to get off the doors. Like one day I'll get off the doors, right? And they're not surrendered to the job. Like, you are. This is the job. This is the job. Yeah. You're doing door to door, and I work with a lot of clients, and they always go through this waves. And I was a victim to it too, of just like, man, I want to be done. I can't knock anymore. How do I get off? And I'm like, you got to surrender, man. Like, you go be the best rep in the office.
Yep.
Like, fully accept that you are a full-time door-to-door
salesperson.
You're a solicitor. Yeah. And those who do it crush. Right. And there's this inner battle that happens. And so for those listening to you, I guess, as we kind of turn in the corner, then this pod will come out right before summer starts or spring. Like, surrender to the opportunity. Like, I am a door-to-door solicitor.
Yep.
And I'm going to be the best.
That's who I am. That's what I do.
Yep. And I'm going to be the best there ever was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All in.
All in.
At the very start of this podcast, you talked about the positive attitude and how I keep that up, man. As they're going into the summer, if you're a rep listening to this, going into the summer, you get to control, you get to choose how you look at things. And why not live in a happy state?
Yeah.
If I could choose, if I want to live like mad or frustrated or happy, just choose happy, right? It's your choice. Every situation, right? Beat on your craft, become the best, surrender that this is what I've chosen to do. This is who I am. And I'm going to be the best me that I possibly can be. And I set up challenges and stuff. Sometimes I'm doing a 28 plus challenge right now for guys that sell year round. I think selling 28 deals, selling at the start of the year is super important. And so I put that out there that you're going to try to have people do these challenges, because you can look at every situation as this is an opportunity for me to grow or not. Right. And growth is happy. So choose growth. This is an opportunity for me to get better. That's happy. I can win or I can learn. And when I learn, that's happy. Dude, just go ahead and choose to be happy all the time. My wife just left me. That really sucks. Be sad for a minute and then choose to be happy. Figure out a way to be happy about it, because your life will only be better when you have that frame, when you have that lens. I get to choose how things go from here on out. I get to choose how things are right this second. I choose happy. Your life will be better. Do that all day, every day. When you're in this, when you're 6 hours in, not a lot of water, not a lot of food, sweating your guts out, people, slamming doors in your face, equals happy. And can I end one more story?
Bring it.
Okay.
We're getting an absolute sermon from Bishop Buswell right now.
One more story. My daughter comes in. My wife's sick. And so I want to be good to my wife and not have her have to deal with kids. I got 2 kids that are sick, and they're also sick. At 3 a.m, I hear the door open, and my little 2 or 3 year old comes in and she's like, "Dad, I just threw up." And I could be mad. I could be like, "I'm trying to sleep here. Why the freak? Why couldn't you go to the toilet? Why did you throw up in your bed? Why?" Right? I could be mad, being woke up 2, 3 a.m. Or guess what? I've actually already done this before. It's called knocking doors. Oh, it's okay, honey. When I knock doors over and over and over and over again, and I still show up with a smile on my face at the next door, guess what that translated over for me? My wife's sick. I'm taking care of the kids. My daughter shows up and she's thrown up all over her bed. It's okay, honey. It's okay. Are you feeling okay? Come here. Let me give you a little snuggle. Let's clean up your bed. It's all right. No problem. Is she going to remember that I was super nice?
Yeah.
Maybe, maybe not. Would she remember if I was a punk and yelling at her and it's something that she couldn't control? Probably, right? I've been there before, and it's called door-to-door sales. I've been in that. It's just a different situation. I'm not knocking doors, but I'm choosing to smile and have a positive attitude in something that's really, really hard. And I've done that. I've done that before. So that choice over and over. One more, Doug, one more.
Bring it. I'm loving it.
You said a story, so I'm going to give you one more. One of the proudest moments of my life, Doug. You're going to be like, that was one of your proudest moments? One of the proudest moments of my life was on a ski hill in Utah here when I took my second daughter skiing. For the first time, all of my daughters suck going down the hill. Everybody does going down the hill the first time. But she was just horrible and she was throwing fits and whatever. And she got stuck with her skis out like this, right? Oh, totally open. And she couldn't get them out. And she couldn't get them out. And I'm like, okay, well, come on, try this, try that. No. And I lean down to help her. And she unlodges it and whap, smacks me in the face.
Oh.
And the skis come down. She looks at me like, and I cut my lip. I cut some inside of my teeth. And I was like, and I had a choice in an instant. Now I've got an opportunity. What's my choice? Smack. She was like, whoa. And my brother was down the hill just a little way. She was like, whoa. Right. I just got crushed by the ski. And I was like, okay, are you all right? She was like, yeah. Are you okay? I'm like, yeah, totally fine. Let's get up and let's keep going. And we just went down the hill. And my brother came and we went down and he was like, dude, you okay? I'm like, yeah, dude, I'm fine. I'm bleeding a little bit. He's like, yeah, I saw that. That was crazy. Are you sure you're okay? Because I was totally calm about it because I had a choice in that moment to freak out at my daughter because of something that she wasn't trying to do. She was like, I'm going to time this perfectly to unlodge my ski and get my dad, right? That was painful. That hurt. To be able to have that moment where I chose to not freak out about it and I chose to be happy and continue to help my kid was one of the proudest moments of my life because I Mike Tyson, everybody's got a plan until you get punched in the face. I legit got smacked in the face by this ski, dude. And I chose in that second to be happy and still be a good dad and be a loving person. And yeah, I had to suck my blood for a little while down the hill and I had to, bandage it up or whatever later. But that was one of the proudest moments of my life, man. And it will stick with me forever because it was pivotal to me too in the moment that I was like, wow, I'm so grateful that I'm at that stage. And not that, again, I'm not there. You're not there. You can have all this inner peace and all this inner enlightenment and stuff, but life continues to happen, right? And we're always trying to close the gap of our best selves and where we're at now. But it was a proud moment that
beautiful, man,
that I chose to be happy and good in the midst of all of that. So I don't know where that ended on your.
It's so aligned, man, because my main focus is, the top question I ask myself is, can I handle my life? Most people live a life where they feel like they just can't, they're just slightly anxious. If I lose my job, I'm not going to be able to handle it. If I don't get an install, I'm not going to be able to handle it. If my girlfriend leaves me, I'm not going to be able to handle it, right? And we're kind of just always constantly slightly anxious.
Right.
And I think the highest life you can live is whatever happens to me. I get ski in the face, right? All my accounts go out. The economy goes under. I can handle that. I can handle that. And I think once you get to that state, your life doesn't necessarily get easier, but it just gets a lot smoother. You're just kind of calm and confident and centered, and life kind of just has a way of working itself out.
Yep.
And you don't waste all this energy on negativity and rumination and frustration and the story. And if you can get out of that, the quality of your life goes up. I think the number one needle mover in quality of life isn't something that happens external. Money, car, job, partner. It's your inner state of well-being and your ability to be able to handle life.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that.
It's agreed. Beautiful stuff.
Agreed.
Ashton, you're an absolute dog.
Thanks,
Bishop
man.
Buzz. That's what I'm gonna start calling you now. It's so good. Where can people find you on social, brother?
Yeah, just my Instagram is probably my biggest thing. So Ashton Buswell at Ashton Buswell.
You're always throwing out such great content, man.
Yeah,
so
thanks.
keep it up, brother. And really excited. I know that when this podcast comes out, Alchemy Summit's going to be over, but tomorrow's big day. We're going to have you up on stage, brother. So I'm sure we'll be sharing a lot of clips from the stage as well, man.
Yeah,
So appreciate you
excited.
coming out.
You got it.
Thanks, bro.
Thanks, dude.